Squad, the Epstein files has been dropped. You feel me? Niggas thought they was never gonna get this shit, but a whole bunch of shit, like the whole file is just redacted. What's the point of even dropping them bitches? You feel me? Just like, yeah, they tricked his ass, bro. They tricked the everybody, the public, everybody. Cause this niggas was thinking like, we're never gonna get them bitches, cause it's still people on them Epstein files that always went to them islands and shit with him, fucking kids, shit like that. You feel me? They still living, they should still get charged for that shit. You know what I mean? Hey, shout out to the squad, bro. Let's see what we talking about right here with this one.
Alright, so the Epstein files were supposed to be released this past Friday, but of course the government continues to try to cover for Epstein.
Like I said, we're gonna give them the files now, but we ain't gonna give you nothing but just like pictures and shit.
Epstein's clients. So we only got reportedly 1% of the total files, and 80 to 90% of the documents and pictures they released were redacted or were publicly available already. So we probably got less than 0.1% of the Epstein files, but still this release had some disturbing stuff in it, and this proves there's a lot of evidence they have in their possession that they obviously don't want out there. So it must be really bad. You know, if this is what we're allowed to see, I can't imagine what they're trying to hide. So one of these documents that came out confirms one of Epstein's victims, and the first whistleblower, reported him to the FBI and NYPD in 1996 because Epstein sold pictures of her naked 12 and 16-year-old sisters to his friends and then threatened to burn down her house if she tells anybody. So the authorities were alerted about this in 96, but they did nothing, and Epstein continued to go on victimizing underage girls. And apparently he would even check girls' IDs to make sure that they were underage. Also, some of the pictures that were released that Epstein had...
Well, how the fuck, dude, if that's some real-ass kid, what you asking for IDs for? You...
were with him and children on his private jet, the Lolita Express, which is a reference to a book Epstein was obsessed with about a pedophile who was attracted to a 12-year-old. And Epstein would write quotes from this book on his victims. And he also kept this really creepy scrapbook with pictures of them. And the quotes are talking about how little they are and how little they look. And some of this stuff is just so bizarre, I don't know how to describe it. But there's also this picture that was released where it looks like Epstein is dropping off a young girl to meet with some old guy with his shirt off, and they left him unredacted, surprisingly. And there's also this text message that was released by the House Oversight Committee that was part of the files where someone is talking about sending over girls and the price and
$1,000 per heart. That's like this telegram, like fool.
They give her measurements, height, and weight. It definitely sounds like trafficking. But if you remember, the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, said there's no credible evidence of trafficking in the files.
There's no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
And before he was at the FBI, he would talk about how the FBI needs to release all the files and prosecute the clients. But now that he's there, he's covering for them. And that's the same thing with a lot of people. Like, they have no credibility anymore, and they just want this to go away so badly. Because they obviously know how bad the files look. You know, they're so desperate and they just cannot shake it. And it seems like everything they do just makes things worse. First with the binder stunt, then Kash Patel on Rogan.
I said, yeah, he definitely is. And I said Trump was on them files too. He's supposed to be charged too. You feel me? But he the president, you know what I'm saying? Like first president that had 19 felonies. And he still won, like shit like that.
Then the DOJ memo concluding basically there are no files, and then Trump calling it a hoax. That's where people just lost it. So Trump's administration had to do damage control. They started calling every influencer to beg them to stop talking about the files or to get them to do damage control. Like Alex Jones admitted he got a call. He said Trump's administration called him and asked him what it would take to get him to shut up about it. Then also Tim Dillon, he didn't just get a call, he got a free seafood dinner with J.D. Vance. So you could tell these people are just so desperate. They're trying to do anything they can to get people to slow down and stop talking about the Epstein files and stop pushing for the release.
I had dinner last week with the vice president. He told me they do not have videos of any powerful person in a compromising position that's the party line that they're going with.
And I can tell you a lot more. I mean, I've had the White House call up and be like, last week, what do you want?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you think I'm doing all this just to get something? I've never asked for anything. I want you to do what you were elected to do.
Yeah.
So it went from, you're bad, we're going to have our influencers attack you 2 weeks ago to, what do you want?
Yeah. Well, they want it to go away. They want this to go away.
So they're clearly panicking over the fallout from that DOJ memo. You know, sending the vice president to meet with a comedian podcaster. Like, they must have been so worried about this. Also, it's ironic J.D. Vance wants this to go away because just a few years ago he said, what possible interest would the U.S. government have in keeping the Epstein client secret? And if you're a journalist and you're not asking questions about this case, you should be ashamed of yourself. What purpose do you even serve? Maybe try doing your job once in a while. But of course now he's done a complete 180 and he wants journalists to just shut up about it, and he's helping keep the files hidden. I wonder why. You know, he's trying to protect the clients, I guess. But even with all the damage control they're doing, it doesn't seem to be working. I mean, it seems like they're trying to release just enough to make people happy, but it only seems to make things worse. Like, I think with this recent files drop, they're hoping the pictures of Bill Clinton would placate Trump's base and maybe get Democrats to shut up. You know, because of course there are a bunch of pictures of him in the release, as expected. I think everybody knows this guy's a creep, and most people want to see him prosecuted. But we know it'll probably never happen. We've been hearing this for such a long time. It's so funny, people are still like, oh shit, we caught Bill Clinton.
Like, this is a president right here. Bill Clinton, right? Like, who? Obviously, it's redacted right here, so it must be a little ass kid right here. Is that his wife? Like,
over for him. But everybody knows this is going to lead to nothing. It's pathetic. I mean, we've been waiting for Pam Bondi to prosecute Epstein clients, and if Bill Clinton's one of them, and if he's a pedophile, then go after him. But of course, it's never going to happen because it's one big club, and Bill Clinton's in it, and I'm sure if he goes down, everyone goes down with him. Because if that weren't the case, I think they would have thrown him under the bus right away. It would have satisfied a lot of Trump's fans. And it seems like that might be kind of what they're trying to do now, but it's too little too late. And I don't think Pam Bondi will ever prosecute him. But they're clearly throwing these pictures out there to try to satisfy Trump fans for a little. You know, it's like just tossing out some breadcrumbs to try to keep people happy while they try to cover up everything else, including Bill Clinton's involvement. You know, they literally release these pictures so they don't have to release the more damning evidence. I mean, you'll see people post these pictures and act like, whoa, it's not looking good for Bill. Even the press secretary retweeted the picture and is like, oh my. But if you're disturbed by this, then demand for the full release of the files and prosecute the clients. It makes no sense to be like, oh my god, this picture's horrible, but the files are a hoax and we should move on from talking about them. Like, you can't have it both ways. You know, these people always go back and forth. First they claim they're files, then there weren't files, then there were again, but they're a hoax, but now they're real and only a hoax when Trump's involved. I mean, it's so funny because people will be like, man, did you see that birthday letter Bill Clinton sent Epstein? That was really creepy. But the one that Trump sent him is totally normal. I didn't think anything of it. But it seems like they know Trump's involved, but they're just too closely associated with him to jump ship now. You know, they'd rather just help cover up a child sex trafficking ring. It's wild. So now if the files actually do come out, the collateral damage is going to be catastrophic. You know, it's going to destroy so many people's reputation. And it's already destroyed people's credibility, like Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. They're a complete joke. And Dan Bongino, he's stepping down at the FBI, which has gotten mixed reactions. But it'll be interesting to see if people still trust him. Because before he was at the FBI, he kept telling everyone for years to stay focused on the Epstein files and continue to push for the release. But then once he got the position at the FBI, he just wanted people to move on from it. Also now a lot of people even try to downplay Epstein's crimes. Like before this recent release a few months ago, Megyn Kelly said some wild shit. I think she got a call from the administration because she said she also has a source. And she was acting like, is Epstein really a pedophile? You know, I heard he just liked barely legal teen girls.
And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this. But that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. We have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10, I was under 14 when I first came within his
That's still weird.
So I don't know.
It's still weird as shit though. You know? Shit's weird as fuck. Alright, it's all weird.
Why anyone would try to make this point. This is insane. I mean, literally the name of his plane is referencing a pedophile. And they were alleged victims as young as 11. And the girls in some of these pictures, you can't see their faces, they're blocked out, but they look really young. So with all the information out there and knowing more is coming out, to try to make this point is wild. Like, she
Is that a newborn baby?
must have not thought this through at all. But maybe the recent file drop changed her mind. I mean, Epstein said he was checking IDs to make sure girls were underage. Also, I saw it now, they're deleting files because they forgot to redact some with Trump in it, which just draws more attention to them. So I don't know how they didn't catch that before the release. You know, I figured that's what they're looking out for. But the DOJ...
See, I told you. Because Trump and that nigga Epstein, they was like cool, bro. They was cool. I seen some little clips over there where it was like a whole bunch of kids dancing and shit with them niggas over there, and Trump looked like he was like probably in his late 20s, early 30s or whatever, bro. You feel me? Like, so he been in the island before with that nigga, bro. How you gonna just redact all your shit on there? Because you can, you the president. I know he looked at the whole files and shit. He know everything. He was there. But no, take my shit up out there. We're gonna put everybody else. Take my shit out there. Take me. It's not supposed to be like that, bro. No.
Always acts like they're rushed and they didn't have enough time to release everything and censor the victims' names. But this has been going on for like 6 months at this point, and there are reports of them 6 months ago redacting names. And every time it comes down to actually releasing them, it's like, we need more time, the files aren't ready, they're not with us, or we're protecting the victims. And by victims, they probably mostly mean the clients. That's all they really seem to care about protecting. But now, since they didn't release all the files and they deleted some, people think Pam Bondi should be impeached. Even Trump fans, they hate her too, because she just insults everyone's intelligence. I mean, she's gone back and forth on this so many times. Like, first they did that binder stunt and she gave everybody already publicly available information and said it was the Epstein files and said they're the most transparent administration. So that completely backfired and everyone just got pissed at her. So then she's like, all right, well, now a bunch of files just got to my desk. I just got a truckload of evidence. I have hundreds of hours of videos. It's all coming out. We're the most transparent administration. But then soon after that, the DOJ announced they had nothing. And then they also said Epstein killed himself, and she lied about the cell footage. So every few months, whenever the Epstein stuff heats up, they do this whole runaround.
I don't think he killed himself. They must have got him out the way. You feel me? Because I guess it was a ring, bro. There was a whole thing, bro. It was like doing this shit in the world. It's like, bro, this some Illuminati shit right here. This some Illuminati shit. You know what I mean? Like, bro, just look at this nigga. He look like he ain't got no soul. Look at his eyes. Gang.
Talk about how transparent they are, but they just need more time to protect the victims.
All files, with limited exceptions, to be released within 30 days. On Friday, the Justice Department released just a fraction of the overall Epstein files. Why didn't the Justice Department meet that Friday deadline?
Good morning. So it's very simple and very clear. The statute also requires us to protect victims. And so the reason why we are still reviewing documents and still continuing our process is simply that, to protect victims. So the same individuals that are out there complaining about the lack of documents that were produced on Friday are the same individuals who apparently don't want us to protect victims. So we're going through a very methodical process with hundreds of lawyers looking at every single document and making sure that victims' names and any of the information from victims is protected and redacted, which is exactly what the Transparency Act expects. That's exactly what Attorney General Bondi expects.
So I don't think we'll ever get the full files, but now there's more pressure to release them than ever. And obviously, the more that comes out, the worse it looks, and the more people should be demanding for the release. But of course, the DOJ was hoping that the files that were released on Friday would be good enough for people, and they'd shut up about it now. But it didn't work, and it never seems to work. You know, they've tried to get people to move on from this so many times already. It's not going away. And whenever they get caught, it's like, give us time. You know, we're in the process. We just need to protect the clients, victims. but people are running out of patience. I mean, I'm glad they released what they did, but it's just nothing in the grand scheme of things. I mean, the Bill Clinton pictures look bad, but they're probably nothing compared to the redacted files about him. You know, I'm sure there's so much worse about him in the files. Like, I'm sure they just released the least damning evidence, and we're probably just hoping it would satisfy people with these pictures of celebrities. I mean, also there's a picture of Michael Jackson and Epstein in there, which I think was a new development, and of course it looked pretty creepy. But some people seem to think this is a red herring, like they put this in there so it would catch people's attention and they just focus on that. Because also the deputy press secretary tweeted out this picture of Bill Clinton, Michael Jackson, and Diana Ross and their kids, and they blocked out their kids' faces, so it makes you think they're victims. But this picture had already been publicly available on the internet, so I don't know why she's acting like this is a big bombshell in the files. Well, it seems like they might be trying to use this as a red herring, you know, because of Michael Jackson's controversy. Obviously, when you see this, you think the worst. So also some other celebrities that were in the files are David Blaine and David Copperfield, which David Copperfield has this picture with Maxwell that looks pretty bad, you know, because most of these other pictures look like they're in a professional setting, and just because you've taken a picture with Epstein doesn't mean you're involved with him or you're doing anything wrong. But the pictures of David Copperfield and Bill Clinton probably look the worst. So a few other ones were Chris Tucker, Mick Jagger, and Kevin Spacey, which Kevin Spacey has already admitted to being on Epstein's private jet. Bill Clinton probably looked the worst. So a few other ones were Chris Tucker, Mick Jagger, and Kevin Spacey, which Kevin Spacey has already admitted to being on Epstein's private jet with young girls.
I felt he put the president at risk on that trip to South Africa because there were these young girls. And we were like, who is this guy? So I will say this. There were young girls on those flights, yeah.
It also doesn't help that a lot of these people already don't have the best reputation, and the entertainment industry is known for supporting pedophiles and abusers, like Roman Polanski, who was convicted of drugging and raping a 13-year-old. But even after that, everyone still supported him and worked with him, and he won an Oscar. Then also Harvey Weinstein, you know, everybody loved him. And I think they had a good idea of what he was doing. But then once it came out, then they're all like, oh, this is terrible. And he also was friends with Epstein, and his company was mentioned in the recent files release. So it seems like in the entertainment industry and in politics, this stuff is really prevalent, because also it's much easier to get away with when you have power. Like, nobody seemed to care about Epstein, Weinstein, or Polanski until they had to. I mean, people would openly make jokes about this stuff. People would defend Polanski and get mad that anybody would even bring up the fact that he raped a 13-year-old. Like, one of the craziest things that shows how depraved and morally corrupt these people are is when Quentin Tarantino defended him on the Howard Stern show sometime in the early 2000s. And this will occasionally resurface from time to time, and just recently it did because Quentin Tarantino started some drama with Paul Dano and everybody took Paul's side. And then they pulled up this clip because this is wild.
More than Europe, China?
With a 13-year-old girl, and you're a grown man, you know that that's wrong because she hasn't...
Giving her booze and pills. I'm not... Look, she was down with it.
Oh,
And she's talked about it. She's talked about it.
I believe it's rape.
I don't believe it's rape. I mean, not at 13. Not for these 13-year-old party girls.
Oh, my... Really?
13-year-old party girls. What is that?
And obviously, if somebody said this nowadays, they'd be canceled in a second. You know, their career would be completely over. But at the time in Hollywood, I don't think anybody even cared. And they probably liked it that he was sticking up for Roman because everyone acted like Roman was the victim in the situation. So this shit was basically normalized in Hollywood and in politics. But surprisingly, I don't think Tarantino is directly connected to Epstein at all, even though he was best friends with Harvey Weinstein, and Weinstein produced all of his movies, and he's connected to Epstein. But it seems like a lot of this stuff was out in the open. Nobody really cared about, though, until the Me Too movement. You know, then Harvey Weinstein got taken down, then people stopped working with Polanski, and then Quentin Tarantino had to apologize for this clip, and Epstein got busted. But up until then, it seemed like you could get away with anything if you had influence and power. Like, the way Quentin Tarantino's talking about this, he makes it sound like it's no big deal, like it's just a normal thing. You know, like, everybody knows how these 13-year-old party girls are. So around this time in Hollywood and politics, I'm sure there's a lot of this going on, and I'm sure there still is. But it used to be obviously really easy to get away with. You know, Epstein had been doing this for decades. And then even when shit hit the fan, a lot of people around him acted like he was being treated unfairly, like he was being canceled. There's this letter in the files that he got from someone who was like, I hate that you got into this mess with the girls. You know, they knew what they're doing. You didn't put a gun to their head. but you got to watch it. You know, when you're a rich, famous man, you're a target in this world. So the amount of people that just ignored what he's doing and even defended his behavior is wild. But let me know what you guys think about it.
Nigga, it's like, how horny can you be to bring kids under 18 to... Shout out to the squad. Y'all be cool, man. I'm at 100.